I'm Patrick Bailey with whiteboardcoder.com. Today is May 29th, 2016, and in this video I'm going to be going over how to install SSL certificates on an HAProxy box, and more specifically how to use Let's Encrypt to get an SSL cert on your HAProxy box. Now before I go dive into it, I have another video, and I'll put a link here, where I went over the basic setups on how to install an HAProxy box. So if you're not familiar with HAProxy and the load balancing it can do or how to set it up, you can go watch this video and get something set up. But if you already have something set up, I'll show you what I'm going to do to get an SSL certificate installed. Okay, I'll briefly go over Let's Encrypt. So here's our URL, letsencrypt.org. And their main goal is to make freely available SSL certificates for everyone who wants them so that they can encrypt their website so that all the communication of the internet can be encrypted, which is a good plan. But they want to just give away free SSL certificates, which is fantastic because there's a lot of little small sites I have that I'm not going to go pay $100, $200, $400 a year for an SSL certificate on a site that doesn't get traveled very much. It's not worth it to me. So a free certificate is very appealing. You can always do a self-signed certificate, but then people are going to have to accept it, and it becomes a big burden. But Let's Encrypt is the big thing now. They've just come out of beta, which is fantastic. And the idea is they just want to help encrypt the internet. They're open source. They're trying to be very helpful. Now, if you've ever installed SSL certificates, or if you're like me, you do one every 2 or 3 years or every once a year, and you forget how to do it, and you have to go look it up and look at your notes and redo the whole process and buy it, and it becomes a pain. Let's Encrypt, even though I've only done it once or twice so far, the process is so much better that I wish and maybe hope that someday they'll do paid certificates because their process is so much better than anyone else that I've seen. Or, if they don't do paid certificates, that the other people who do paid certificates look at this and take advantage of it and start using the process. But anyway, so there's a Let's Encrypt, and I'm going to go over how to install it and start using it. The good news is you don't have to go start an account here or do anything special. There's just some tools to download and run. So with that, let's go download their tool called Certbot. Okay, here's the URL for their Certbot, certbot.eff.org. Now, the great thing I love about this is they've made life simple. So you're coming down here, and they'll give you some guidance, because there's only so many things that we would probably install an SSL certificate on. In my case, it's HAProxy box. And I'll go over here, and I'm going to choose the operating system, Ubuntu 14.04. And they give you some notes on what you should do to insert the Certbot and how to do automatic renewal and all this really cool stuff. It's pretty nice just to give you this information. But also, poking at this briefly, if I go on to some of the newer stuff like 1604, and probably not HAProxy, let me do Nginx. Maybe not Nginx. Apache maybe? I clicked on something the other day. It looks like they're trying... Give me something better. Well, I guess I can't get into it today. But this install process I'm going to follow, oh no, maybe that is 1604. Yeah, well, they're going to make it, in 1604, they seem to be making it a simpler process than even what I'm going to do here. So, it's not bad doing it in 1404, but it looks like they're trying to make it even simpler with plugins, for potential plugins. Like HAProxy doesn't use their plugin, I guess, yet, or different, it's so new. But imagine a world where I can say, oh, I'm on HAProxy, I got a plugin, I can push a button and get my SSL cert. I think they're trying to make it that easy. It's not there yet, and I think that's where they're going. I could be wrong. But even though they're not there yet with all this stuff, it's still pretty easy. So let me go back to my HAProxy box and 1404. So they give you some notes here, and so we'll start following some of these notes. Now, what I'm going to do is there's a way that it can communicate back and forth. So it needs to know, it has to confirm, like most SSL certificates, that you actually own the domain name. So an easy way to do that is to give this Certbot, when we run the Certbot, give it permission to the folders where it can put some information in that would be on that domain name, and they could talk back and forth and confirm it's that you actually do own that domain name, and then give you the certificate. So with that in mind, before I dive in to installing the certbot, you want to have a path clear. Now, in my case, I am using, here's what I have, HAProxy box and 2 Nginx boxes behind it. Now, my process may not be the most cleanest, but what I'm going to do is I have blah.whiteboarder.com going to the HAProxy box. And there it is, load balance between the two. And it does have sticky sessions, so now I should be stuck on number 2. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, maybe there's a cleaner way to do this. But since it needs to talk to it, I'm going to just work on Nginx box 2, and I'm going to shut down Nginx box 1 so I can put the cert here to get it, and then I'll move it to the HAProxy. A little complicated, I know, but it is what it is. Maybe there's a cleaner way to do it, but this way you'll know it'll work. Okay, so here's my first box, and what I have is I can go, I have a check. Where am I? There's my check file. So I can fix that, and I can change it to up to, wow, let me change it down. So my HAProxy box is checking this check file to see if it says up. If it doesn't, it's going to go down. So now if I go to my statistics page for my HAProxy box, I can see I'm down and I'm only talking to server 2. So I've kind of simplified things. Okay, sorry, a little phone call there. So where I'm at right now, I got the HAProxy box set up. I turned off number 1, so I'm just going to number 2. And I have blah.whiteboardcoder going, the traffic going to this HAProxy box. So I can go to there, and I'm just going to number 2 because number 1's down. I did that because of the way I want to use the certbot. There might be a cleaner way to do this, but that's what I'm doing. Okay. So now if we go to the certbot, we can go here and say, I'm HAProxy, I'm Ubuntu 14.04, and it tells you how to install the certbot. So what I am going to do, I might do this a couple of ways, but let's start this way. So there is the certbot. So basically just follow the instruction, wget https tl-eff.org certbot auto. Oh, and I'm on my Nginx box 2 because I need a place that I'm going to use this. I'm going to use their tool in such a way that it needs a place to put files so it can confirm that this location is actually owned by me. So I'll grab that, and then I'll change mod it, make it executable, basically, on that certbot. And now I can run it. So I'll do certbot auto, I'll just do help, just to prove it's there. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a few more steps here. And I'm going to change it. So I'm going to do sudo move certbot auto, because if I want to keep using this, I should put it someplace more permanent. So I'll put it in there. User bin certbot auto. There we go. And then change the owner to root. User bin certbot auto. Okay, so now I can remove, well, I moved it, so it's moved. So now I can do which certbot auto. There we go. Now, I'm going to show you a little bug in this tool that will, if it's still there, they may have fixed it overnight, who knows. So now I can just run it. So I can go sudo certbot auto and cert only. And that'll start running me through a procedure to get a certificate. It looks like it has to download a few things. Oh, it's doing it's downloading all the tools I need. So, yay, fantastic. That's part of what I hate when you're trying to do SSL certificates on your own. You're like, oh, I need to get this tool and that tool and change the certs and do all this stuff. They're just making my life easy. So, yep, install all that. So, SSL Certificate Authority guys out there, fix your damn process. Just use what these guys are doing. Because there's a lot of us small guys who aren't doing certs all that often, or, you know, we can do them, but we only do them once a year. So I have to go look up a process. I don't have it automated. It's all by hand. It's never fun. At least for me. Now, all these downloads, this is a one-time deal. The next time you run Certbot, it should go real quick. Okay, so here's where the tool should start up. So what I'm going to do is use a web root directory. And I'm not using a temporary web server because that could be a little weird. It's probably going to use port 80, and that's going to be, I don't know if that's going to be kosher. So I'll just use a web root directory and hit OK. And then I'll tell it where to go. I'll say, oh, enter an email address. Sorry. Put in your email address. And this is kind of your only registration. It's not really a registration. It just means they can get a hold of you if there's something weird going on. And that's it. I'm not logging in. I'm not doing any passwords. I'm doing nothing, which is beautiful. So I hit OK. And I agree. Now, when you agree to this and put your email in, it's a one-time deal, probably per server, and it stores that information off. Okay, now, what do we want to encrypt? I want to encrypt blah.whiteboardcoder.com. And I'll hit OK. And then I need to put, what's the web root for this guy? And I'm on my Nginx 2 box, so, but here, perfect, crashed. I guess they haven't fixed this yet. So there's a little weird crash. And if you have this happen to you, and I sat there and stared at it for a long time until I figured it out, it's an easy fix. The code they did can't handle a small window. That's it. That's all it is. So if I run it full size, it'll work. So yeah, now you can see I didn't need to put my email in again. .com. And you need to make sure that blah.whiteboarder.com, wherever you're going, actually can get to this box you're on right now because we're using the web root. So we'll enter a new web root, and now I need to go find it. Now in this case, I got it written down over here, right? Yes. So user share Nginx HTML. So there's my base directory. So I'll say OK. And then it should start thinking. So now it's going to put some files in there and done. Congratulations, your certificate chain has been saved at let's encrypt live blah.whiteboardcoder.com fullchain.pem. So it's done. It's already there. Life is good. And so if I do tree etc. let's encrypt, you'll see that's where they're going to put all your files. Oh, wait. Oh, I need to do a sudo, right? Yeah, because I need to do sudo because they should be owned by root. Also, you can see the cert expires on 8/27. So these certificates are only good for 90 days. But that's not really a problem because you actually can auto-renew them from the command line. There we go. So there's all my certs. So there's all 4 of them. Right there. Life is good. Now, I need to move these certificates onto my HAProxy box, and I'll do that here in a second. But on a note, you don't have to use that tool that I just went through. You can actually do this all via the command line. So let me, in fact, I'll rerun it. I guess it doesn't hurt to rerun it here. If you rerun it and it sees there's a certificate already in there, it probably won't remake it, which is fine. Let me show you. You can do all this in the command line. Sudo certbot auto cert only, and then you can put all this information in. You can do --webroot --webroot-path and put that information in. User share Nginx HTML. and then put in your email, and then show what domain name you want. In fact, I think you can put multiple domain names in here, but I only want one, so whiteboard.com. And so you can just do this on a command line if you know what you want, and it should run. Oh, you have an existing certificate that contains exactly the same domain you requested and isn't close to expiry. Oh. Yeah, I didn't want that. That's because it sees it. So how do I make it quiet? Okay, I almost had a command for you there, didn't I? Certbot. Oh. It's really a quiet thing. Give me a second, I'll go find that out. You know, never mind. Let me just restart, because you're not going to use that command to... There's a different command when you want to renew your certificate. So I'll just go look at that, and I'll just remove the whole Let's Encrypt directory. Well, helps do a -r there, right? -r, so that's all been wiped. Okay, so I got no certificate at all here now. Now, you don't want to keep requesting certificates all the time, because there's a limit to how many you can get per day or something. It's big enough for most of us, but there is some limit, just to warn you not to just keep doing things like that. Now, my size, since I'm not going into that tool, I don't think my window size should matter, he says, confidently, or not. So I'll do web root -- web root path, and user share nginx html -- email dash for the domain blah.whiteboardcoder.com. There we go. That should run. Oh, but I didn't agree to what terms. Dang it, how do I have to auto-agree? Okay. Let me go figure out how to auto-agree. Let me cancel. I need to figure out how to add auto-agree to that. Give me a second. Okay, I think I found it. There's an agree to. So I can do, once again, sudo certbot auto cert only web root -- web root path user share nginx html, and then I can do email, and I can do agree tos, add that in, -d blah. That should work. Maybe. And then I shouldn't get any pop-ups. Or it should just work. Okay, there we go. Congratulations, your certificate chain will now be saved. So it did it all command line, which is beautiful. So let me look at the tree again. There's the tree and there's all the files. So next, I need to get all those certificate files onto the HAProxy box and then configure the HAProxy box to actually use them. Okay, now I need to get these certificates and move them over. Now, it's probably preferable, and I need to figure a way out to how to do it, to run this all on the HAProxy box, not on the Nginx box. But that's not where I'm at this moment. And you may not be either. Maybe you have to do some weird back-end thing and move things around. So I need to copy these over. So I need to make a little directory at my home directory, and I'll just call it certs. And I will copy everything from that. Let's encrypt live, and then see, blah.whiteboardcoder.com. Everything here. Where are you? Should be live. Let's encrypt live. What did I do wrong? Let's encrypt live. Let me just change the root. I'll be lazy. Let me switch over to root and copy, etc. Let's encrypt live, blah. Okay, I'm not crazy. To here. And I'll just change the owner real quick to myself. Just making life easier to move these things around. Okay. Now let's get out of there. So now let me get out of here, and I want to copy them from there over to there. Now I have SSH permissions to both of those boxes from the box I'm currently on, but they don't have permissions to each other. So actually, if you want to do a secure copy, you can do a secure copy between third parties. So you can do a secure copy. Let me check history. Well, secure copy -3, I believe, and I would go certs, just get that whole folder, and then copy it over to my -9, right? Didn't like that. Okay. Let me go check why I didn't like that. Okay, I think I was close. I can just do certs, get everything in there, and do certs like that. I think that would work. Okay, so now I can hop over into my HAProxy box, and I have a certs folder. So now, let me do tree on that. Oh, I don't have tree. Nope, I got no files in there. Okay, what'd you do? Why didn't it work? Okay, if I go that. Didn't go there. Let me go figure that out again. I was wrong. Okay, now I figured it out. I forgot to push in a -r because it is a folder. Duh. Okay, so I should copy all those certificates over. So if I run that, they should be copied over. Now if I go to 9, my HAProxy box, I should see a bunch of certs. There we go. Perfect. Now I want to move them. So I'm going to make a directory. I'm not going to follow the Let's Encrypt stuff because I still probably want to install Let's Encrypt on here and figure out how to do it better than what I'm doing right now. But this will do. So I just make a folder. And then I will copy all that stuff over. So copy certs to okay, so there they all are. Now I'll change the owner to root. Good. Now here's one of the gotchas. Now for HAProxy to work, it's looking for one file. So what you have to do is you have to take two of these files and combine them. So let's do sudo bash -c cat. Let's see, full chain -pem and priv key -pem And I'll just put it into blah-m. Oh, let me get rid of that guy. There we go. So now I should have all that. So I should have that's blah, and it's a little bigger than full and priv. Let's see, full and priv. That looks right. Okay, so they're combined. So now I need that file for HAProxy. So now next, we've got our key. Now we need to set up our HAProxy configuration file to actually use it. Okay, now before I get too far, let me bring back my my HAProxy box 1. So let me go back in there, edit the check, and turn it back to up. And now it should come back up. We're yellow, and we're green. Okay, so that shouldn't matter. So now, let me dive into my HAProxy box settings. There we go. So let me go grab that. So we've opened up our proxy settings, and we just need to, I'll do this in a few steps. So the first thing that I like to do, and I already did this here, is just add a bind for port 443. Now all that will do is effectively like a port 80. It's just going to list on 443, no SSL certificate at all. So add that to your front end, save it, and restart. So we've restarted, and now I can go over here to blah.whiteboarddecoder.com, which redirects to that location, and I can do 443. And it's going to go to the same thing. I'm not doing SSL yet, it's just 443. So that just works. You can see there's no certificate, no SSL. I just want to prove that that port is open. And it is. Let me get back onto that guy. Okay, so now, for some more editing. Now we want that certificate. So we bound on 443, and now we want to use that cert. So we can go SSL, cert, CRT, and then we can just reference it. Whiteboarddecoder.com and blah.pem. That should be the right file. And I think that's all you got to do for basics. So save that, restart it, and it gave me a little warning here about this 1024 2048. Ignore that for now. Come back here, and now 443 still working. I don't like that. But I should be able to do, alright, think about that. I should be able to do HTTPS. Can't provide a secure connection. It sent an invalid response. Okay, let me see. Oh. Well, before I fix that, there's another interesting thing you can do, is if you have that certificate there, you can kind of use it like a self-signed certificate. Here I am just going to that address, and I can use advanced and ignore it. So it's even a convenient way to, it's not a self-signed certificate, but if you're going to use something like that, this tool is more convenient than just doing a self-signed certificate. Anyway, so let me figure out what's going on. Sent an invalid response. What did I do wrong? Okay, let me go figure out what I did wrong. Okay, it turns out I was fine. My HAProxy configuration was fine. I just have some strange setups in my own system, so maybe I'll go over it a little bit. Now, in truth, my system, I had an Nginx box in front of this that was sending traffic through here for 443, and trying to get it to pass through the cert and deal with all that stuff, I didn't do it right, and it was fighting it and not working. So I'm not doing that anymore, so I'm passing the traffic for blah.whiteboarddecoder directly to this now. Life is good. So now if I go to blah.whiteboarddecoder, life works. I can see that my certificate works, and there's the specific information for it. It's working just fine. So with that, now I'm going to go into my next, so it's working. Life's good. Now my next section, I did this in a write-up where I wanted to see how good my certificate was. So there's a website called ssl-labs.com where you can test things. So I'm going to test this cert as is to see what kind of grade I get. Okay, now that I have this cert and it's live and it's working, I can actually go to this website, SSL Labs, SSL Test. There we go. So go to that website, and here you can start entering names to test their certificates out to see how good they are. So I'll just put mine in here, whiteboardcoder.com, which I've done in the past, and it should show up. So they usually, I guess they're going to restart it. Sometimes they cache it. You have to invalidate the cache, let it start over. But I guess it is starting over because it hasn't done it in a few days. Well, plus the SSL key I'm using now is different technically. But this will go do a bunch of tests to see how good it is and give you some suggestions, which I've done before. And so we'll just kind of follow their suggestions and see how good a grade I can get. Okay, there we go. C. And that's what I got last time. When I started out just defaulting, not doing anything special, I got a C. That's not to say the certificates are bad. It just says some of the ciphers you can set up in HAProxy are bad. Because right now we've kind of said, hey, we'll kind of do everything. And I'm not an SSL certificate expert, but take my advice with a grain of salt. But these guys are. So it's nice to see what their suggestions are. So the first one, it says why you got a C. You got a C because you're using, you have to disable SSL3. Because this poodle attack is possible. Now, to do that, we'll kind of go one by one. So I can go back to the HAProxy box. Okay. And what I need to do is I can go down here where I have my cert right there. And it's pretty easy. All I have to do now is add, so this, no SSL v3. That's all you got to do. Save it off. SSL v3, right? Yeah. And restart it. Okay, so now we're restarted. Now I can go back here and retest it. So to do that, just click this clear cache, and it'll retest, which it takes a while, but just sit back and watch. Okay, there we go. Now I'm up to a B, but I want to get up to an A, or even an A+. And I have figured out how to do that, and we'll kind of step through. So at this point, B, you're probably okay. Now, here it talks about an RC4 cipher that gets your grade capped to a B, and this Diffel-Hellman key exchange parameter. So I looked up, I got some links here. Let me go post this. Let me open it. Here's a website I went to kind of get some information on that, hardening your web server. And they pulled out some, you can go here and read some information. It talks about some of the ciphers and what you should do, and it gives you a lot of the different ciphers you can do here. So I edited my HAProxy box to limit the ciphers it's talking on. So let me go open the configuration file. And if you happen to be on a, I think 1.4 or 1.5 or earlier, you can do this. You just can't put it in the global area, I guess. These are new things, I guess. So I'll do this. There's a lot in here. Let me copy and paste and talk over it as best I can. There we go. Show you that those are on one line. So here's this default DH parameter. I upped that from 1024 as the default to 2048. Now I moved that. I'll go erase it here, but that no SSL version 3, I moved it up here. And then I changed my default binds. So here they are, and I'll post these in the show notes, showing. In fact, in the show notes, I'll probably put my final version. But this shows. This is just all the different ciphers. It says these are valid, these are not valid, and it really kind of goes in detail. But if you put those in there, this should get you up to an A, I think. Let me double check. Yeah. Then let me go down here, and since I put that no-sl v3 up there, I don't have to put it down here. I can take it out. Kind of redundant there. So take it out and restart. So restart it just fine. And now I think if I run the test, I should get an A. So let me clear the cache and let it rerun. There we go. So we're up to an A. And I think that's probably good enough, but I also found out how to get to an A+, but it's not my doing, it's someone else's. Let me go post this other URL. I should put that in the show notes. This guy shows you how to get an A+. You got to be a little brutal. He shows all the little tiny things you need to do to HAProxy to get it running, and so I'm copying his details basically. But I'll show you what it is. So if I go back into my HAProxy, what I need to do, here's what I did. Now for kicks, I up this to 4096. I don't think you have to based on his. Let me wipe this out. Now when you get this stringent, some things might not work. In fact, with the A, some things might not work. So I think Java 7 can only handle 1024-bit keys or something like that. So you could go this strict and then back off a little bit depending on what your systems need, because this will probably break a lot of things. Might break old things. So we do this up here, and then we go down to our front end, and I do the insert like that. Then I add some stuff in here that I'm copied and pasted from this guy, because I am no SSL certificate expert. And you paste this information in, which has some HT response, set headers, deny X frames, yeah, strict security, all that fun stuff. So if you do all this and save it and restart, you should get an A+. So I will clear the cache and get an A+. Though it's probably too much, and you don't have to get an A+. I think it might be too much in some cases. It may, block certain things from getting in. But it's not too bad to get an A+, and then slowly go back a little bit to let things in that you need to let in, like Java 7 or things like that. If you do. You get too stringent, then you might block a lot of people. So I'll let this run and see what we get. Oh, and there we go, A+. So it's all working. So there you go. So that's how you can install your SSL certificates using Let's Encrypt, which is really awesome, and how you can do a few tweaks in your HAProxy box to get it working, and how you can up your ciphers to get an A+. And that's an A+ today. It could be that they find out one of these ciphers gets hacked next week and it may no longer work, but I would imagine these SSL lab guys who are security experts will, I'm sure, update their test to make sure that they discover those. So probably always a good idea to test your certificate here. They do a great job. So that is kind of the end of this video. I hoped it helped someone out there. So, oh, I forgot one thing. Since these certificates only last 90 days, there's a command to auto-renew them. So here I can go certbot, let me clear this out. Clear things. So I could say certbot auto renew. And it'll go through and try to renew all your certificates that are on this server that it's aware of. And it says, oh yeah, I've got that certificate. It's not due for renewal yet. And you can actually come in here and you can do quiet if you don't want to have it put that out. Oh, wait, no? Maybe not. Or if I learn how to spell quiet. There we go. We'll do it quietly. Okay. And they suggest, if you're going to do something like that, they suggest to run it twice a day. And I'm not going to do that in here because it's kind of a weird setup. I'd like to set it up better so to automatically do it. I need to go think about that. Because I do actually need to combine those two certificates into one to make it work on the HAProxy box. So there might be a little bit of doing to figure that out. But I'm sure there's a methodology that I can get it done. But the nice thing is if you're doing something simple, you have something set up, you can just there and call and get it renewed. So pretty cool. Really, really good job done. Really, so much simpler. So much simpler. I don't have to go through a bunch of bureaucracy to get my certification renewed. Now, I don't know when it renews. That'd be interesting to go look up. For me, I'm just testing. I don't care. They're not on live sites. Well, even if they are on live sites, they're sites that it's not a big deal. If it's messed up for a day, I'll fix it. But I imagine when you get close to the end of it, hopefully it renews in the last day or last couple days. I don't know. But the good news is there's a process. You just run a command. Life is good. Anyway, so now this is the real end. So hope this has all been helpful. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like. To subscribe, just click the subscribe button. Also, you can follow me on Twitter under the handle @whiteboardcoder.com. View any code I may have thrown up as a gist at GitHub under the username PatmanDenver, or check out my blog site at whiteboardcoder.com.